Good morning. We find ourselves again on another Sunday being in lockdown. It's hard not being able to meet together, but we trust that in hopefully the soon coming days we'll be able to see each other face to face again. I have the privilege today of being able to share a few thoughts with you about what I've been enjoying this week, what I've been led to read, has been the book of Philippians. And as I've been reading throughout Philippians, I've been able to draw some strong parallels between us being in lockdown at the moment and how we're all individually handling our situation, how the world's handling it, the conflict and the debates going on. And I got so much encouragement from it. So I wanted to share with you just a couple of verses that I found that with Paul, as we know, he was in prison, he was suffering for Christ, and yet throughout the whole book of Philippians, his thought and focus is on others, on Christ and bringing him glory. And in chapter 1 of verse 12, it talks about, and it says, "Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. And it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ." And when I read that, I actually thought, how can I apply that to my life at the moment? How can I apply that to my situation in lockdown, when I'm speaking to my neighbours and friends and family? If they could say the same thing, I would hope that they would be able to see that my strength is in Christ and my hope is in Him. I would hope that as I continue to dwell upon and read upon Philippians, that I will be able to grow more in becoming confident, as it talks about here, becoming confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. And I really got a lot of encouragement through these verses here as I kept on bringing it back to the situation that we find ourselves in now with COVID. And in verse 27 it says, "Whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel." And we can so easily get frustrated and disappointed with the news that yet again it's going to be another 7 days in lockdown, another 7 days we can't go to work, and that we have to homeschool. And it can be so easy to focus on ourselves and the situation we find ourselves in and our own circumstances. But as Paul here continues to talk about in these verses, that his focus was on others. And in verse 4 of chapter 2 it says, "Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others." Verse 14 says to do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation, that you will shine among them like stars and you will hold firmly to the word of life. And I was able to apply that again back to the situation that I find myself in lockdown. We have a hope, and we have a promise, and we know that whatever the circumstances we find ourselves in, like Paul said, we can use it for the glory of the gospel. And we have a hope in Christ that He is still on the throne. He knows exactly what's happening, and He has our lives planned out day by day. And so I hope that if you find some time during the week, you'll be able to enjoy Philippians just as much as I have, and to think of these key verses I've actually got here in front of me. Philippians 4 verse 4, "Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice." Philippians 4 verse 6 and 7, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and mind in Christ Jesus." And the last one, Philippians 4 Verse 13, I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Philippians can be called resources through suffering. The book is about Christ in our lives, Christ in our mind, Christ as our goal, Christ as our strength, and joy through suffering. I hope this brings you so much joy like it has done me this week. God bless, church.